Good morning and welcome to the Circuit de Catalunya for the final round of the 2018 Blancpain GT Series, also the final round of the 2018 Blancpain Endurance Cup. We've got 3 qualifying sessions that are going to follow very quickly after each other, and for me, Bruce Jones and John Watson, there are so many things to consider. We have 12 championship titles still to be settled here this weekend, and really the first roll of the ball is the fact there is 1 point up for pole position in each of these categories, from pro to pro-am to am. So much to think about. Different weather conditions to yesterday though. A little cloudier today, not quite as warm, only 17 degrees down there at the moment, John.
Indeed it is. Track temperature 16 turns. This is the Circuit de Catalunya just outside Barcelona. Familiar to pretty much everybody in motorsport, a very popular testing destination. 4.655 kilometers and 16 turns, as I mentioned. Turn 9 being the mega turn. Turn 3, which is that long 180-degree turn, is the one where if you run wide too early you can get into trouble. But that is looking up towards the exit of turn 9, down into the tight left-hander at turn 10.
Talking tight, look at the top of the overall cup for endurance. That's the Pro Drivers' Championship. Raffaele Marciello, 1 point advantage. That could go just in this qualifying session if the Black Falcon Mercedes crew come out on top. But we have this, and get this, I'm going to say it many times, 15 driver combinations that could yet win the Endurance Cup. We haven't even, you look down to Jeffrey Smith at the bottom there, he's in 12th, he's relatively well placed. You have to go down to 15th place to find the last crew that can take it, and that's Maxi Book and Maxi Gertz. Look at them. They, in fact, though, yesterday, who was fastest? Their car was top of the timesheets in free practice and pre-qualifying yesterday afternoon. Very, very crowded in the point table. It's going to be very, very crowded out on the track. You can see the cars already lined up. Looks like a Bentley ready to go, but 53 cars trying to cram their qualifying runs in together, not be obstructed and not obstruct others. It's going to be really, really like a game of chess, a crazy game of chess. And there is the Black Falcon car that is second on points. Jelmer Berman, Mauro Engel and Lucas Stoltz. That team, John, has been getting better and better through the season.
Indeed it has, and the one thing that everybody will be conscious there, the number 7 Bentley, I think pretty much in the front of the queue, is with a fresh set of rubber or a new set, whatever the teams have opted to use, most likely to be a new set. It is very, very important to get that one clear lap, because the key here in Barcelona is using that set of tyres. It will be your first flying lap, even though the track temperature is only 17 Celsius, much, much cooler than it was back at the end of Saturday afternoon, similar to what we had 24 hours ago when we had a practice session. So everybody acutely aware they've got to get it done, and they need to do that when the track condition is a clear lap. One single clear lap is going to be enough for each of the 3 drivers, in some cases just 2 drivers per car, to get that lap time in.
Well, huge array of cars. You can see Bentley, Lexus at the front. Well, let's take a look at the Pro-Am Cup, because that's also up there. Lewis Williamson, Chris Buncombe and Nick Leventis, Strakka Racing Mercedes, top of the pile for Pro-Am Endurance Cup glory, but not a done deal as yet. They've got Duncan Cameron, Matt Griffin tucked in behind on 74 points, and the other team that can make it are Matchell and Salikov. They're on 73, but at the moment Buncombe, Leventis and Williamson looking pretty good, but with 53 cars, I have to keep saying that, anything can happen out on the circuit. And in the Am Cup, it's the Adrian Amstutz and Leo Mashitsky for Barwell Motorsport, their Lamborghini, and they could be toppled by Chris Goodwin, Chris Harris and Alexander West. They are second on points in their Garage 59 McLaren. Nobody else can get a hand on that trophy. It's just a question which of those 2 teams does it.
Just for reference, what we saw in free practice on Saturday morning at approximately the same time as qualifying is going to get underway, a somewhat truncated session with 2 red flags breaking it up. Fastest lap was by the number 1 Audi, which was 1:44.2. To contrast what happened then at the back end of Saturday afternoon, fastest car was the 43, you mentioned it already, Bruce, 43 ACA ASP Mercedes of Maximilian Book. Alvaro Peret set that time for 1:44.4, 0.2 of a second difference. Now that again will be what tyre was on which car at which particular given time.
Absolutely, there's so many variables. Another cup to consider is the Silver Cup. Abdulaziz Al Faisal, Hubert Hout and Piana as the cars go to the track, top of the table, but they've got Michele Beretta, Martin Kodric and Sandy Mitchell, who could also win that cup, and the final outing for the Jaguar, but that is still in for title contention in the Silver Endurance Cup for Alex Fontana, Michael Grenier and Adrian Zhao. So 3 crews can yet put their hands on that trophy, and that's when we're talking about all the trophies to do with the Endurance Cup. We've also got the overall GT titles where you combine the points from the sprint and the Endurance Cup, but we'll move to that later because we're out to qualifying. It's going to be really, really quick fire. We've got to be on our toes.
Yes, indeed, but all I can say, Bruce, is it's going to be an exceptionally long podium ceremony this evening, following the race end at 6 a.m. 6 p.m. 6 a.m. It will be 6 a.m. by the time you finish on Monday morning.
And look, the car's already jostling for position out on the track. They need a clear piece of tarmac, but one person who really delivered yesterday was Dries van Tor. Went out, first flying lap, banged it in, the lap you mentioned, 1 minute 44.203 seconds. And he is a driver who will hunt the space. He's only got a few cars ahead of him. He's going to maybe try and get past, but that number 7 Bentley didn't get to pit exit first for no reason at all. They are determined to get on through. Dries van Tor already picking off one of the Lexus to go to second on the circuit. He wants to get ahead of the Bentley. They're trying to get the heat into the tyres. Down to turn 9 they go. There's the number 7 Bentley in front of him, but those are both fair. They can sort of control their position from there. Unless someone's late out of the pits. Cars still leaving the pits, half the cars still in the pit lane.
That'll be a problem for these lead cars coming around, both the 7 Bentley and the number 1 Audi, as they make their way up into turn 13, 14. And there we look at the man who was very, very impressive on Saturday morning. Now backing up, look, he literally stamps on the brakes, almost has rear tailgated by the Lexus, trying to find space. Dries van Tor knows this is his one opportunity. That's how Vos, the boss of the WRT Audi team, looks and watches. There's the 7 Bentley making its way down. Already he's flashing his headlights at cars that have been just exiting pit lane as they go out on their first exploratory lap.
Well, Jordan Pepper in that number 7 Bentley was lucky. Cars coming down the pit lane, and it just looks like, so was that number 88 Mercedes?
88,
Championship leader coming out of the pit lane just as number 1 Championship Challenger came past, but Dries van Tor got through. But Jordan Pepper, I think, had an even better run, but they had to work those positions. Clear track ahead of them.
Yes, the 7 is the first car, the 7 Bentley, first car out on track. There is Dries van Tor, fastest sector time in the first sector. No real surprise, because what this young man is capable of doing is doing an outlap, then nailing it with total commitment, but principally total confidence in his car, and fastest overall in sector 1. Purple, that indicates the fastest time in that sector set so far. May well be eclipsed as we get further into this first part of qualifying.
That's already a quarter of a second quicker than any of his rivals, his early rivals, have managed to do. So he's got the hammer down. He worked that position, very nearly got caught out by the 88 Mercedes from Strakka ASP. That's Raffaele Marciello's car. Coming out of the pit lane, just managed to get it round into turn 1 before it came through.
Purple sector 2, and just drops a wheel on the exit of turn 10, but not a problem. He's got probably the most grip in his car, and he's got
a Rinaldi Racing Ferrari in front of him. That's really compromised him.
Careless.
He's gone off the tailwind out of the track. You could see the
blown
dust kicked up.
Absolutely, his chance at getting a provisional pole lap in Q1 has been blown by inexcusable, in my mind, not using your mirrors, not allowing yourself to be drifting around like a Sunday morning drive out in the country, and not realising there's a car coming up behind you. And I would certainly like to see the race director bringing that driver in and reading the riot act.
Yeah, absolutely fair. The Aston Martin number 62 is going very well. That's got the best first sector at the moment. It's Jordan Pepper from just under a tenth of a second ahead of Dries van Tor. Now the 88 Mercedes going onto its first flyer. This is the one we really have to watch. Tristan Vautier, the gang is back together. They raced in the opening round. Tristan Vautier, Danny Juncadella, who's back for this round with the man, with Raffaele Marciello, the driver who this weekend could win all 3 titles.
Second quickest on that, the first flying lap, was Dries van Tor.
Here's the replay. I mean,
it's ridiculous, utterly ridiculous. I mean, that car's going to be way over to the right, keeping out of the way of these cars. That they were the first cars on the track, and I mean, I know it's an issue for everybody, and where do you put your car? But if you're doing a slow out lap, stay off the racing line.
There's the message. Absolutely, fully agree with that. So Tristan Vautier going well, but a tenth of a second down on their opening stint. But Dominic Baumann completed all the things to put the Aston Martin on pole by nearly a second. There's provisional pole ahead of Nicolas Jaminet in second place. Jordan Pepper back to third, and Dries van Tor back to fourth. So that horror lap that was looking so good is only going to see it going further down the order.
So 88 is the car that is the potential 3 times winner, the first occasion in the 10-year history of this Blancpain GT 3 Championship Sprint Endurance combined So we wait to see Tristan Vautier coming up to close the
Vantor's on another lap, and he's got 2 purple sectors, so he's going for it all over again. Will he get a clear lap? We will wait and see.
Just ahead, I think that's the Audi, just ahead of the 88. So waiting to see when Vantor comes across start-finish line. There it comes, he ought to go, he does 1:44.068, fastest single lap of the weekend so far.
So he's got the pace, he had the anger, he kept it under control. The 88 Vautier Mercedes, just under half a second down in second place, needs to be there or thereabouts. And don't forget that in the championship, Dries Vantor starts today on 37 points. It's a point for pole position, but Marciello's car, number 88, which is second fastest, that starts on 48.
Now there's Vantor, has done his lap, he's kept out of the way, using his mirrors. He knows that I'm going to step aside, I'm going to let all these other cars that are competing for their qualifying times, only just under 9 minutes of the session remaining, get out of the way. That's what you're supposed to do when you've completed or you're about to go on to a lap.
So as you can see, traffic everywhere on the circuit.
I mean, what's all this weaving around?
Well, it's not very good news for the Bentley in the background. He wants to come through.
Joking.
Okay, so let's just run you down the order. Oh, a big lock up there from number 8, Bentley, pushing down. That's Vincent Abril at the moment. He's down in 7th place, and he may yet just have enough of a space to improve on this lap. Yes, he's got his best first sector, his best second sector, but he's got a gaggle of cars up ahead of him. The Bentleys, we were talking to the crew beforehand, they reckon a top 10 is possible. And let's see, coming down out of turn 13 to 14 and 15, the very tight little chicane. That Walker Rolls Motorsport BMW should stay out of his way. In fact, shouldn't interrupt him at all. Trying to sweep around the outside through turn 16. Vincent Abril will get a bit of a toe, that's fine. Where's he going to go? He started the lap in 7th fastest.
Up to 5th. In the meantime, 76 Aston Martin had placed itself into the second row of the grid in Q1, of course, as we look into the Bentley garage.
Lamborghini goes top. Lamborghini 63 has suddenly flashed. We're looking at Jelmer Berman on the screen, trying to put the number 4 Black Falcon car up towards the top of the charts. He's got clear lap, but quite clearly Portalotti has just slotted together a fantastic lap. Only a whisker faster than Dries Vantor, but that's enough. He's on top by 0.047 of a second.
That's the fastest we've seen the 63 Lamborghini so far all weekend. Purple, sector 1, sector 2, personal best, sector 3. That time that the sector 3 still stands to Tristan Vautier in the 88 Mercedes. Christian Klein in the 14 Lexus making his way around, currently 13th quickest for the number 14 Lexus.
Well, that's a lot better. The Lexus team is actually leading the endurance team's title coming into this fifth and final round. But yesterday their cars were nowhere. They were on the second page of the timing screen, somewhere between 20th and 40th positions. Today looks a little bit better, but Klein at the moment 1.4 seconds off the ultimate pace. Still a handful, that RCF for him.
Yeah, it's the top 8 are covered by just under that 1 second ordinarily, and it's actually some Kvyat, Jules Kvyat in the number 90, which is he is up into 9th position. So that's a pretty good effort from the 90. Of course, Nico Bastian in that car, and Jack Manchester, the arm of that driver lineup in the Silver Cup.
Audis are coming. We've got the Audi in second. We've got a Bentley having had a spin. Was it Abril or it's the Parker Racing Bentley number 31? I just want to mention that Simon Gachet moved up to 4th place in the Santalok Audi, but now we've got a new car at the top of the charts. It's Felipe Fraga, the Brazilian driver. Strakka Racing and Mercedes getting stronger and stronger this weekend. Had a really good day yesterday. Fastest 1:43.951. Yellow flags because of that spun Bentley.
Spun.
It's spun.
No, it is.
It's had its spin and it's spun. So unfortunately for the 31 Bentley crew from Team Parker Racing, well, a little hiatus. They will continue underway. Derek Pierce going to be bringing it back round. That's on the exit of, well, turn 10 going to turn 11. Yes. Now we're back to green flag. That car is underway. Car number 58 under investigation for speeding in the pit lane. Oh dear, that's a bad one. Dries Vantor goes back to the top by 1/1000th of a second. Vantor's having a magnificent session.
And he did it without getting a purple in any of the sectors, so back on board with the 88, it's already dropped back down to 5th place.
Okay, here's a question though. We briefly had a yellow flag. Did that interrupt the lap of any of those going around to the top? But at the moment, 1:43.950 seconds. Dries Vantor on top by 1/1000th of a second, and the 88 Mercedes been riding on board with Tristan Vautier. He's 5th and he hasn't improved in his first sector, so this is not likely to see him making great game, which is a shame because he's got clear track.
Yes, down into turn 5 makes the exit, but a lot of work in the steering wheel from Tristan Vautier, really having to work the car to get the nose to turn in, balancing it on the steering, balancing it on the throttle, again making minute corrections, a little bit understeer, a little bit oversteer, trying to get it cleanly through 7 and 8 up the hill, the climb up the hill into this blind apex in turn 9. for me, the corner here on the Circuit de Catalunya, just outside Barcelona. Then the drop downhill. Someone bumping into the braking zone, now into turn 10. A corner where it's one of the places where overtaking is viable. Whether that means possible or not, I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to work that one out a bit later. And then up through turn 11, then this long, turn 12 is probably the corner I dislike most here, because you never ever seem to get the car balanced correctly forward.
So let's just run through the order at the moment. 88 on the chart, it's fallen down to 6th place, and other cars usurped it, but at the moment it's Dries van Tor, the number 1 Audi, at the top of the charts, riding with Tristan Vautier out of the final corner. Will he move forward? He's 6th at the start of the lap, and the best lap of car number 1 under investigation. There was no improvement there. Oh, just a fraction down from Tristan Vautier. He stays 6th, but the lap that put Dries van Tor ahead of Felipe Fraga's 44 Mercedes is under investigation. There was that brief yellow flag period. That could be a factor.
Lead silver car, 78 SRO Motorsport. Kelly Barretta up into 7th position. And 144.6, just 6/10 of a second away from what is now under investigation. The lap time of car number 1. Bruce, you mentioned when the yellow flag came out, was that time
a red flag now?
We've got a reason. So we're waiting to see. There's a red flag, so everything has come with 3 minutes and 43 seconds of the session remaining. It has been red flagged, and everybody will make their way back at a slow pace as is required. It's mandatory. There we come out of turn 7 up through 8 and then up into turn 9.
So let's just have a little rundown. Where are the championship challenges? Just to reiterate, this is the first of 3 qualifying sessions. They're very, very quick fire, and only when we get to the end will we know who is on pole position when the aggregate times are combined. But going into this event, Raffaele Marciello in car 88 leading on points. His car is 6th on the charts, and maybe you can see half a second or thereabouts down on the number 1 Audi. Don't forget that lap for the number 1 Audi is under investigation.
Indeed. Now, of course, we've got 2 more qualifying sessions to go. As the combined time of all 3 sessions. But if I was in car 88 and I said to them now, Tristan Vautier, Raffaele Marciello, Danny Ucadella, would you shake my hand on starting in the 3rd row of the grid? I tell you what, they would break my hand, they would snap it off, because that's a great place to start. You're going to be in with the lead group when this race goes green, and that's the key.
Entirely so, and what we saw yesterday were a lot of the regular front runners way down below the top 20, really fighting for track position, fighting for time.
Oh my, that's a 66, I think.
66, a Tempto Racing driver is out.
That's up at turn, so the exit of turn 9. And the car, whether that's been a big snap oversteer, certainly the car's had solid contact with the barriers, and it looks like it's gone across the track as well. Let's have a look and see. Well, there you can see it running wide. Wow, that was the car absorbing all it needed to absorb. That shows how strong these cars are, but that's the car shared by the 2 Schotthorst brothers, Peter and Stein, and Kelvin van der Linden. Kelvin was 5th in the championship. Now, will that car get to well, that is a very, very solid end of their qualifying session, and one probably presumes for the race as well. Difficult to tell. I mean, there's a substantial amount of time. I mean, what Audi can do, the Audi customer service support that comes with the whole Audi family to every event, they've got so many bits. You can build a new car, basically. But that was a heavy, heavy hit. It was almost 90 degrees into the tire barrier on the inside of the exit of turn 9. And not normally, I don't remember seeing a car going in there. If they go off, they tend to square off to the right of the picture. But that caught the curb, and it just snapped, and it shot literally straight across the racetrack. Driver out of the car, effectively could just be a bit bruised with the weight of the impact, but otherwise looking fine.
Okay, so what we have the matter of the fastest time under investigation, but for Dries van Tor, he did a series of fast times. It might only drop him back to 2nd overall, but certainly a fantastic lap from the 44 Mercedes that put it into 2nd place. That's being shared this weekend. Felipe Fraga, Christian Vittorius and Oliver Rowland. Very strong driver lineup, but it could be a fly in the ointment. That's not a car that's fighting for the championship, but it's right at the front end in qualifying. 63 Lamborghini crew, of course, normally right at the front end, but it hasn't been the best endurance cup for them, so that they're also not really in the overall reckoning. But Mirko Bortolotti doesn't go racing not to win, so he's out there to do that.
The 63 Lamborghini, the strength of the driver lineup across all 3 drivers, Bortolotti, Caldarelli and Engelhardt. I mean, whichever way you look at it, it's a very, very strong lineup. Remember, this is just one of 3 qualifying sessions which will be amalgamated, so whether it will be the #1 Audi still ahead or not, that we'll know only when we get to the end of Q3.
Well, let's head down to man who's fastest at the moment, Dries van Tor with Dakota.
Dries, now you're in P1, but you're under investigation for a yellow flag. Did you see yellow or not?
Yeah, I saw the yellow, but when I came to the corner, I saw that Bentley already going in a straight line on the road of the track. I mean, the normal way we always go. So he was already joining the track again when I was arriving. So I don't know. I backed off also a little bit in the hairpin compared to my previous lap before. Yeah, I tried to back off, but I made a mistake the lap before there. So that's why I improved my sector, because I made a mistake the lap before in the last sector. But anyway, yeah, I must say the traffic out there is pretty intense, to be honest. I don't know if it was live, but I went through the gravel in my first lap because there are just drivers thinking to drive on their own on the track. And yeah, we should make a clear rule that if somebody's on a push lap, we should just go to the side, because it could have also ended bad for me going through the gravel. And anyway, I tried to back off on the yellow, but yeah, like I said, I improved on the lap before, so we'll see what happens. But for the moment,
let's see.
Yeah, I mean, I suspect that was going to be deleted, because whatever might have happened on the previous lap, it's what you do on the lap that you allegedly transgressed. So there we see the 66 attempt to attempt to Audi about to be removed back to the garage. And there is the 44, the current second quickest car, and that could actually, if that lap of Dries van Tor is deemed to have been contravening the regulations, that could be the car that is the quickest overall. But we've still got 3 3/4 minutes of this session remaining, so you'll have the chance to go out, do your out lap, come past and get one flying lap before the checkered flag comes out.
Where these cars are positioned when the pit lane is reopened, or the track is reopened, is going to be intriguing. Now here's Adrian Amstut's car showing with Leo Mashitsky. They can win the Am Cup here this weekend, but they've got the battle against the Garage 59 McLaren. But Richard Abra on board along with them this weekend, that Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini tilting for gold, and of course they can also take the Am Endurance Team's title too, but Garage 59 will be pitching against them in that as well. So plenty to play for up and down the pit lane. 53 cars out to play. This 44 Mercedes, Strakka Racing getting stronger and stronger with their Mercedes. Certainly yesterday their cars were clustered at the top of the time charts in the top 10. So competitive, and for Felipe Fraga really showing a hand that he hasn't really shown before. He's shown pace, but he was very strong yesterday, and again today in a crowded track he's delivered.
Well, I think the key is you use your fresh tyres at the point where you've got the clear lap, and the combining of those two elements is the contribution that Fraga has done a stunning time. I mean, that 143 1,000th of a second away from the time of the #1 Audi Dries van Tor. I mean, it takes more than 1,000th of a second to blink.
Yeah, I mean, that really brings it into focus, with this lap being just 2.892 miles or 4.655 kilometres, and this many cars. Inevitably the field is going to be really tight at the top, but so many drivers will be slightly compromised by others. They know that it's a factor. You have to really make your own space.
And I mean, you think at a 4.6 kilometre circuit there'll be plenty of space, but you end up, you get groups, it's like a swarm of wasps or bees, maybe 10 or 12 cars all fighting to find a bit of track space, and then maybe 5 seconds behind there's that little gap, which if you can find it, that's the slot you're looking for.
Certainly can. Early in the session we were looking at the #8 Bentley that was Vincent Abril was going well. He was 5th and we blinked and he's down in 12th. It just shows how these groups of cars going through can make or break. Now this is the car that Raffaele Marciello was using this weekend, the #88 ACA ASP Mercedes, looking for glory. Plenty of controls down there. John, what are you looking at on the screen there, John? Something's caught your eye.
Well, there's a control just on, would be to the driver's right leg, and I wonder, is that something that would allow a mechanical adjustment? It looks like it's a cable running from it, so I'm not entirely sure what that particular control does. It could be a brake balance. It could be like almost. I mean, you don't have handbrakes in these cars, but certainly I would love to know what it is.
Might just be put there to intrigue the opposition, John. You know, racing's
yes,
all about smoke and mirrors as much as pace on the circuit. Always an element.
An interesting extra control that the driver would have available. Whether it's a brake balance adjustment, it might be a simpler form of brake balance adjustment than having a rotating, you know, in and out type of brake balance adjustment. Don't know. Let me have a look at that a bit later.
Yeah, we'll go. We have you can pop down there later while I'm reporting on commentating on the Blancpain GT Sports Club event, their final round of the year. Great to see these cars up close and in detail, but AKSP running cars in so many championships now, and the car in the background could win the Silver Cup endurance title. It's already won it for AKSP, the number 90 Mercedes. Great livery on that car, and but at the moment not finding their fullest form out on the circuit. But in fact, it was a very good. Sorry, I contradict myself there, because Jules Simkowiak, I forgot he did that really good lap. He put in 14th, but it was slightly struggling this weekend. It's had a few little moments off the circuit, but yes, this is the bit where it counts.
Jack Manchester had an unusual off coming through turn 11, and before he had the car prepared to go, it just went literally straight, and it didn't appear to slow down a huge amount until they got into the gravel trap. There is the 23 Nissan. That's Alex Buncombe, Matt Parry, and Jan Mardenborough, who's been drafted in because
Lucas Ordonez
fell off his bike. He's training in Mallorca. Who wasn't in Mallorca last weekend? Training in Mallorca. I was having a little break just to prepare to come down to Barcelona, but Lucas Ordonez was training on a bicycle, had an off on the bicycle and damaged his shoulder. Went to the hospital, who look after all the MotoGP competitors who constantly are having shoulder injuries. Unfortunately, they weren't able to do anything that would enable Lucas Ordonez to be able to drive here this weekend. So Jan Mardenborough, who's part of Nissan program, principally racing over in Japan this season, has been brought over and is back into a Blancpain GT3 event.
Yes, of course, what he would like is as much track time as possible. Track time without other people on the track would be a nice thing, but that isn't an option this weekend. Aston Martins, they surprised us all this season, won the second of the endurance rounds. That was the one at Silverstone. Jake Dennis, Nicky Thiem and Mathieu Vassivière, where Vassivière took probably one of the best pole positions, if not the best pole position of the season. And again, John, we mentioned it at the time, just the other driver's reaction to his lap was just a clue to how near perfect it was.
Yes, I mean, all his peers went, wow, where did that come from? Because it was one of those a lap of the gods, you might say. We occasionally see laps like that, and they come and go, and that was one of those laps.
Wow, some great looking cars down in the pit lane. That's the SMP Racing Ferrari, number 72. And let's go out on the track, number 88. John, let's ride with Tristan Vautier, the first of the three drivers to go through the circulation. He's doing qualifying one. Let's look at his lap.
Well, this is
Danny Juncadella.
This is from yesterday. So this is Danny Juncadella down into 262, 65 kilometers per hour. Hit the brakes, get the car, ride the curve at the inside, then to switch back to turn 2. And it's on the exit of 2. You don't want to get too wide, because immediately you're in this long turn 3, early apex. Then you allow the car to release and just float its way out to the exit, run over that bit of green AstroTurf or painted track. Then an early entry, a slide oversteer, more than slide oversteer, 2 bites of the cherry to keep the tail of the Mercedes in control. Then hard on the throttle. You get on the throttle pretty early in turn 4. Here, turn 5, the camber is always catching people out. Difficult to get the nose in, make that apex. Through turn 6, it's not even a curve. You just line your car up to go into the first part of the sessions. Turn 7, again off camber, the circuit folds away as you then switch back to the right, up the hill and into turn 9. This is the scene of the incident that's brought out a red flag, and it's just here. You caught the wheel, the rear wheel of the Audi, caught that gravel on the outside, rotated the car, then went 90 degrees across the racetrack, back on the brakes, down into turn 10, get the nose in. It's a slow apex. There we have a look at one of the Bentleys. In fact, maybe
that was the one that brought out the yellow flag. Derek Pierce facing the wrong way.
So, well, this is actually this morning. So
yeah, in fact, it was Danny Juncadella in the car. We were given the Tristan Vautier.
It was Tristan Vautier, but it was Danny Juncadella. So he's now having to come in at a very much reduced pace. You can see the entire field is effectively running at 50 kilometers per hour. Danny Juncadella slowing down from whatever he was doing until he caught to the tail of these cars. And that's the reason the Parker Bentley, and that was a bit naughty. That was the 59 of the...
I think it was the 58 McLaren coming through from Garage 59.
Yeah.
Let's just have a look. That was the Pro car.
So fluid on the track, and that would have come from certainly from the radiator. Possible bit of oil as well.
Well, let's go down to the pit lane, because one of the championship challengers, Tom Blomqvist, comes here third on points. and he's racing the 98 BMW this weekend, in with a serious shot down in Dakota.
Tom, now after a mega race at Spa, you could probably win this endurance championship.
Probably, I don't know if it's the right word. Mathematically, yes, we can win. But yeah, it's looking like it's going to be tough this weekend. Ultimately, we haven't showed much, enough pace to be really confident. So we're going to need some good fortune and a bit of bad fortune from the guys that we're fighting with. But it's definitely great that we're in this fight from our great result in Spa. So we'll keep our heads down, try our best. But yeah, it's going to be tough.
What's the strategy for these 3 qualifying sessions?
Well, obviously it's an average now, so it actually makes it a lot harder because there's so many cars here. It's so hard to get a clean lap in qualifying. So there's 3 opportunities to get it wrong, let's say, because it's a lot easier to get it wrong than get it right at the moment. When in a situation like this. So we're just trying to stay out of trouble, stay clean, not do anything silly, and just try and do the best that we possibly can. And then we'll see where that puts us. But in the first one we're only 19th, so it's definitely going to be really hard.
Good luck. Thank you.
So, certain amount of reserve there from Tom Blomqvist, and yesterday, looking at the pace of the road racing BMWs, they were not in the top 20. In fact, they were 25th, and his car, he's sharing with Nicky Katzberg and Jens Klingman, was down in 25th position. But, fact of the matter, they've got into the top 20 so far today, but everything is a hiatus there. The SRO Motorsports Aston Martin crew, the team looking very casual, leaning on the pit wall there, but the drivers are sort of slightly loose end at the moment, aren't they, John?
Yes, and Jake Dennis just looking at the magnificent growth. Yeah, Nicky team looking very Scandinavian with magnificent beard. A lot of racing drivers are attempting beards. Some of them are, let's say,
putting it off.
Poor. But that Nicky team has got a really good old. Well, there's just looking back, a beard, probably more a lack of shaving on a Sunday morning than a beard in that instance.
That's one of the Ombra drivers down there, but again, drivers trying to just keep their focus. For the Ombra crew, they're in with a tilt at one of the titles, but right now it's all about just the drivers focusing. We have 3 minutes and 43 seconds remaining, just enough time, as John has pointed out, for the cars to get out on the circuit, get a flying lap, get an out lap and a flying lap in, but they want to do that without interruption. And Cameron and Griffin, this 51 Ferrari from AF Corsa, is still in with a championship hunt in the overall reckoning, but we just have to wait and see. They're second in the Pro-Am Endurance Cup, but they're 13 points down, 26 points to play for, one of which will be dispensed for Pro-Am pole, well, for all the category poles, but they've got to grab every single point they can get.
Wondering how many cars will take to the track with just 3 3/4 minutes of this session remaining. One car I suspect will want to, and that's to cover itself, because the lap that number 1 set, which there's a question mark, was that done during a yellow flag section of the circuit, one of the 3 sectors on the circuit?
I'm not sure they'd even risk it, John, because their second best lap, the previous one, was only a fraction down on that. Good for second or third, I can't remember which, because the times are changing so fast at the top. I think they possibly will stand aside.
Mirko Bortolotti clearly isn't going to get back into the car. He's out of his, well, pretty much out of his race suit. He's back into his civvies. So their position currently is 3rd, and they will be, I would imagine, with the driver lineup that the 63 Lamborghini has got, it'll be Andrea Caldarelli or Christian Engelhardt will be in the car second. So, P3 in Q1, position that they're going to be pretty comfortable with.
Yes, I think in many ways it's more a question of who hasn't delivered as yet in this first qualifying session. Just looking at the number 911 Porsche Romain Dumas, 13th fastest. That's actually about where we would in fact slightly ahead of where we expect to find it, because it hasn't been a strong weekend for the crew. But in fact, as I said, they were 13th yesterday when I look in the pre-qualifying times. But it's very tight.
Yeah, I mean, I think that currently where the Porsche 911 GT3R performance technology is roughly where the car has qualified so far in Q1. It's just outside the top 10. The strength of this car will be more when the event, the 3R endurance event, gets underway, where with 3 strong drivers behind the wheel, good teamwork in the pit lane, and you can win races from that far back, but what they need to be aware of, any further back is they're going to get into the melee of the midfield. They need not to drop any further back than 13th.
Well, one of the cars that's right at the front end of the grid at the moment is the 44 Strakka Racing Mercedes. Let's hear from Oliver Rowland.
Oliver, as you can see flashing on the board of your car, you're in P2 right now. This is a really tough qualifying session, isn't it?
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, 52 cars in this circuit is, you know, it's pretty difficult to get a lap, but Felipe did a really good job in the first run. Ever since yesterday, you know, we look like we've got really good pace, so, you know, hopefully we can, the two next drivers can get good laps.
What's the strategy to find the best lap time, you know, finding the gap between all that traffic?
I mean, that's the important bit, is to find the gap. I mean, positioning in the session when you go out is important, and also you've got to have a bit of luck as well. You know, when 52 cars are all trying to battle for a bit of track in the last sector is difficult, so track space is the most important thing, and a little bit of luck on the side as well.
And are you in the car for Q3?
Yeah, in for Q3, so you know, hopefully we can do another good lap and be right at the sharp end.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. Oliver Rowland talking down there. 4 minutes until the session will restart. There's somebody's lucky sponge down in the pit lane. Each team has its own little superstition, or so it seems.
Well, that's Porsche. I mean, of all the teams in the pit lane, I would not imagine there would have been within the Porsche team. Fred Makavicki and Makavicki Jr. bashing out something on the old pad. Amazing the age of these kids, that they are so adept.
I do text with one finger like that as well.
Yeah, but so adept at working their way around the curiosities of the internet.
So the first car's going towards pit exit, the number 4 Black Falcon Mercedes. 9th at the moment, Jelmer Berman was fleetingly up in 2nd place, so really at the sharp end. But there's a big spread of time. But once you get away from the top 3, who are under a 1/10 of a second apart, he's nearly 7/10 of a second down. But I think it's a question of, as we heard from all the drivers, just finding a gap in traffic.
Yes.
Second fastest car, there it is, the number 44 Strakka Racing Mercedes. That's down by just 1/1000th of a second from the provisional fastest time in session. We can't say pole, because you only get pole when you have achieved times in all 3 of the sessions, and the times aggregated together. But it's all about, let's just deal with it at the moment, session by session. We're in qualifying session number 1. Slight hiatus as the 66 Tempto Racing Audi was cleared up, having dropped a wheel with the big consequences, John, out of turn 9. Went into the gravel and unusually didn't carry on into the gravel, but whipped across the circuit and then spun around and around on the barriers.
Yeah, I mean, it did, the rear wheel dropped into the gravel. That allowed the car then to begin that period, that rotation, where it went through 90 degrees, but instead of going spinning in the middle of the track, it just got a bite, and all of a sudden it was heading straight towards the barrier on what would be the inside of the corner for the 66 Audi, and there was very little you could do, even if you got on the brakes long enough. The impact was pretty high, and you could see, or we saw, and if you were watching, you could see the violence then of the effect of kinetic energy, which is a description as to where, and I think also the barrier itself may have been, the tire barrier itself may have needed to be either replaced or certainly repositioned. And that's where the work is going on currently. The racetrack itself is clear. There was some fluid, but they put down effectively what you might describe as speedy dry, and they got the air dryers out. So all that work has been complete. The racetrack itself is fine. It's just that there's still a bit of attention being made to the barrier on the inside of the exit of turn 9.
Yeah, well, the estimated restart time has been put back another 3 minutes to 9:38. It's coming up to 9:34. So the cars with the Nissan at the head of the crew lining up in the pit lane. It seems they'll be lining up the cars in the pits by colour order, with that swathe of 5 lime green cars, 3 Lamborghinis and 2 Rinaldi Racing Ferraris. A little bit of a bodywork chomping there. That was the Tom Onslow Raymond Voss Mercedes. Seemed quite happy to run without it. That's the Ram Racing Ferrari, Ram by name and perhaps Ram by what happened.
Did that happen in this session, or they wouldn't have put the car out like that, so it must have occurred. We didn't pick that up at any point, so that particular Mercedes is running with a modified aerodynamic advantage or disadvantage, depending. You'd be quite surprised sometimes when parts of bodywork are detached that you might actually end up having more downforce. It's not unknown, even in the heady areas of Formula One, where you've got all the use of aerodynamics and wind tunnel and CAD-CAM design, whatever, fluid dynamics. There's still work on that barrier, making sure the tire bales are properly relocated, and
I think we're
probably
nearly there.
not very far away. They're just, I think that these tire bales are all attached to each other, so they don't go to the 4 winds that the car does end up hitting them.
Yeah, you certainly don't want them rolling back across the circuit. What's happened between the start of Q1 and the end, which is obviously coming up soon, is the fact the sun has broken through here. It was a grey morning, but the sun has burnt through all the cloud above us, and it's looking like another beautiful day at the circuit de Catalunya, Barcelona. So we know we started the first session with 53 cars. We look as though we're going to have 52 cars, because obviously the 66 SRO Racing Audi will need considerable work if it's going to take part in the race this afternoon. And again, some of the cars are by pit exit, ready to go out on track, and others are hanging back. We saw that at the start of the session. If they all go out together, then the track is going to be super crowded. And for a lot of the teams, their best tactic is to hang back by about half a lap, even a lap, and then go out and hope that the other cars will be out of their way. But that isn't really a tactic to be used now. If you're going to go out, you've got to go out. And I think with only 3 minutes 43 seconds on the clock, some of the teams may just decide to hold back. They'll settle on the best time they've set so far and wait to prepare for qualifying session number 2.
Well, 23 is at the head of the queue, waiting to get out. And that car, I'm looking to see...
Outside the top 20.
It's outside the top 20. I just wondered where it is with the timing and scoring. We've got one screen now, which is the amalgamation of all 3 sessions. As again, work coming up, looks, again, we keep saying coming up to completion, but still the clock's ticking away. The schedule was to restart at 09:38, so that's about a minute and a half away. And I'm not quite sure, that might be put back a further couple of minutes. It could be 09 something, not necessarily 09:38.
But certainly, I think the teams with unfinished business in the session are the ones at pit exit. We saw the number 23 GT Sport Motor Team RJN Nissan. Jan Martinborough should be the driver at the wheel, I believe, but they were 10th fastest yesterday. They're not in the top 20 today, therefore they should have the pace to get up there, but they've got to go and deliver right now, and then they have to add qualifying session number 2's time, and then qualifying session number 3, and then we'll get the aggregate, then we'll know where we are. But where we are appears to be on the verge of a restart.
So I think we're very close now. The track is complete. The repairs to the tyre barriers have been successfully repaired, and we're expecting now to see the racetrack go green. You can see already people in the pit lane are beginning to move. The fast lane, which is the left-hand lane as their drivers go down, and everybody you can see lined up behind 23, that is the fast lane. So you're not allowed to go into that fast lane until notification has been given to you, and that was done a few moments ago. So people were preparing to come up and then wait at the end of the pit lane for the racetrack to go green. It's what, 20 seconds away from the track going green, according to the current information that we have. As we look at Porsche, I think that's a dirt burner, I can't quite see it. There's a lot of backlight.
That's Ezekiel Perez Complang with the bright green boots for the Lamborghini crew. But yes, light and dark, quite a contrast here. I think the signal will look at the top of the screen, and we're going to get a green flash. Yes, we're underway, bang on 9:38. So the revised restart time was great, but so we only get to 9:41 and about 40 seconds, and that will be when the checkered flag is proffered to greet these cars. So a nice clean outlet, get the heat into the tyres. And at the moment, will anybody get to the top? Look how close it is, 1/1000th of a second between first and second. The number 1 Audi ahead of the 44 Strakka Racing Mercedes, and then the Lamborghini Huracan. Mirko Bortolotti's done his job, 3rd fastest. Look, 1/10th of a second covering the top 3. Very, very tight at the top. You have to go down to 14th place before you're more than a second away from pole, and that's the Silver Cup car from Acura ASP.
There is not a massive number of cars that have taken the opportunity, and there's certainly over half the cars still in the pit lane, and I wonder whether they're even going to bother. They've got just under 3 minutes. So as we see the number 4, that's the Black Vulcan Mercedes. That's the one, Hjalmar Berman, Maro Engel, Lukas Strolls. That is another car that has got race-winning potential written all over it. So they're back out on track to try and see if they can make further improvement. Currently that car, Hjalmar Berman behind the wheel, is down in 9th place. They want to do more. And Berman looking all the way, trying to get past the 72 Ferrari and the 23 Nissan. He knows that these 2 cars are quick cars. He needs to, he's backed off. You can see into turn 10. Let them, well, the Ferrari seems to feel it ought to be ahead of the Nissan, and I don't think the 23 Nissan is going to concede that position, not doing it voluntarily. So 4 Mercedes drops back, gives himself 2, 3, 4 seconds, as now the Ferrari drops back from the tail of the Nissan, and then you get this whole stacking process of the first 3 cars. Watch this car. This is going to be the car of these lead 3 cars that ought to put their lap times up into the top 6.
Well, one little thing I was just looking at, John, of the top 20 cars, only 16 of them, 4 of them have bothered to go out on the circuit. That number 4 Mercedes is one of them. That needs to improve. It's down in 9th place overall. But before the times change, I just want to wave the flag for Barwell Motorsport and their Silver Cup entry, because Michele Beretta is 7th fastest in their Lamborghini. That rather got missed in the sort-out. But let's see what Jelmer Berman can do in the number 4 Mercedes. He's got the space, and we know for well he's got the pace. He's 9th at the moment, just under 0.7 of a second in arrears of the best time.
His first sector time should be coming up very shortly as you come up into turn 4. So waiting to see what we get. Well, it's a 29.9.
That's
2/10 off
still okay.
the theoretical best. That's a good time. So that if he can maintain that kind of pace through sectors 2 and then coming across start finish line, that ought to see an improvement in lap time and therefore a positional change. So Barman currently just inside the top 10 in 9th position.
Yeah, Jelmer Berman, their car was 2nd fastest yesterday. They're 2nd on point, just 1 point down on Raffaele Marcello for the Pro Endurance title. How good is that middle sector going to be? Needs to be under 40 seconds to have a chance. Really under 39.7, just waiting for it to come through to really, really be in the mix. Track is clear though. He's worked his space very well indeed. Oh, it's over 40, so I think he's going to have to really pull out a remarkable final sector to make any improvement. Look at the clock at the top of the screen, 25 seconds left as he sweeps down the hill through turn 16. Sorry, not 16, that's turn 13. Now down the drops. So he's not going to get to start finish line in time to start any further flying lap. This is it.
Interesting, the 911 Porsche, also a Romain Dumas personal best in sector 1, currently in 13th position. What's going to happen to number 4?
Everyone's a little bit closer to the ultimate pace because the best time for Dries van Toor has been taken away. He's gone back to 3rd place. Jelmer Berman goes up to 7th. So he gained a 10th of a second. So he's done a decent job there. 1 minute 44.523 seconds. Who else is making gains? We mentioned Romain Dumas. He's 13th. Just reiterate, Dries van Toor's best time was taken away for the yellow flag infringement. He argued about it, but clearly not successfully. So it's Felipe Fraga, the 44 Mercedes, at the top of the pile. Here is that 911 Porsche. How good is this middle sector?
Personal best.
Personal best, and Maxi Boot has suddenly gone up to 8th place. That was a bit of a charge from the car that's 15th and still has a chance of taking the title. 15th coming to Barcelona, can still take the overall driver's title. With the 911 Porsche winding it up. Great first sector, good second sector. Surely about to break, I'd say up to about 10th place when he comes through on this lap. But that first part of the lap really was the key for him.
A visually unspectacular lap from Romain Dumas, which is what he needs to do, because there's no point bringing the neck of the car and overdriving, but not enough. He retains, or in fact they've dropped from 13th down to 14th, still on the 7th row of the grid. And this lead group of cars, the Nissan 23 and the Ferrari 72, still running around too closely. Well, certainly the Ferrari running into the weight coming from the Nissan. Nissan is a physically large car, it gives off a lot of turbulence.
So I don't know why Davide Rigon has stuck with him for effectively 2 laps now.
Why did he bother? There's no point to me, in my mind. You should have done what the number 4 Mercedes did, drop back, give yourself a little bit more clear air, and then use that opportunity to try and maximise whatever is left in the tank. So 72 Davide Rigon in 17th position. I would doubt he's going to see any improvement. Well, he sees 1 position up to 16th.
Yeah, very, very tight indeed. The car he posed there was Coleman Edgar's Garage 59 McLaren. The Nissan, though, not into the top 20, so that hasn't been the success they were hoping for. 10th faster yesterday. So Felipe Fraga, top of the charts following the demotion of the number 1 Dries van Toor Audi, but Dries' second best lap was still good for 3rd overall. So it's the 44 Mercedes at the end of session 1, ahead of the 63 Lamborghini. Mirko Bortolotti was the driver who delivered there. And Dries van Toor, well, he put in some great laps, but unfortunately that little infringement has cost him. But he's ended up just over a 10th of a second down on the ultimate pace. And when we go for aggregate, John, this is important.
But what a frustrating session for Dries van Toor, because on his first flying lap he came up through turn 12 and he found that one of the Lamborghinis meandering, that's all I can describe it, meandering around the middle of the racetrack, and in effect Dries van Toor had to go off track, went dirt tracking, came back on track. Still is that in that, but it was still the second quickest lap at that point, but it would have been a significantly quicker lap. And you know, that frustration then puts you under additional pressure, and maybe that was that pressure that led him to maybe misjudge the point at which he went through that yellow zone, and consequently the time. So, I mean, a great lap, only by a 1,000th of a second. Nevertheless, it was enough that that lap was then deleted. So he ends up with his 3rd best lap being the lap that puts him in 3rd place.
So it's still very, very tight at the top after the first of our 3 qualifying sessions, and it's the Strakka 44 Mercedes, top of the pile. Felipe Fraga doing the job, 0.07 of a second fastest than the best from Lamborghini's Mirko Bortolotti. With its best time taken away, the second best lap for Dries Vanthoor, still good for third overall. And a little bit of a gap back to the better of the Sansalot Racing Audis. And deep in the top 10, we have the top silver runner, which is Michele Beretta in his Barwell Lamborghini in 9th overall. And for a lot of the drivers, they decided to keep their cars in the pit lane, ready for qualifying session number 2, rather than going out to scramble for that final flying lap. But as you can see, the top dozen cars, in fact, the top 14 cars covered by the first second. That is how tight it is. And further great runs down there. Barwell Motorsport look very well placed with their 77 Lamborghini as well. There it is, seemingly leading the way in the AM class. So you do what you do. You've picked so many titles here, John, to fight for. Not just the overall Endurance Cup title, but also the overall GT title in Pro-Am and in AM as well, in teams in all of those categories, plus the Silver Cup car. We don't know where to look.
Well, I mean, we'll just commentate what's on screen. But, you know, what do you follow? I mean, how do you end up following and giving every element of these championship battles? You know, it's a nightmare, in fact, to try and focus on one part of the race and not to the detriment of some of the other championship contentions. Well,
it's a good nightmare to have. Plenty to look at, plenty to fight for here. Final round of the Blancpain Series for 2018. And qualifying 1, you almost throw the piece of paper away. You keep the time. You've got to focus now on qualifying number 2. So many different makes of cars up at the top of the... Let's just run down the chart at the moment. You've got Mercedes on top from Lamborghini, a pair of Audis, then we've got another Lamborghini, another Mercedes. So many makes of cars. We have 12 manufacturers here contesting the title battle, or the overall battle, but still we've had 4 makes winning the first 4 rounds of the Endurance Championship. We started at Monza, victory for Audi. Second round, Silverstone. Aston Martin laid down the gauntlet with its victory. Paul Ricard, Lexus came out on top for the first time, and then that famous win. BMW seems to be a circuit. Spa-Francorchamps seems to be a circuit that BMW likes. They took victory in Spa 24 Hours. Here at Barcelona, who is it going to be? It's Mercedes on top at the moment, but only by the smallest of margins. Lamborghini looking for that first Endurance Cup win of the year.
It's going to be Hobson's choice, I think. It's going to be based to a large degree on these next 2 qualifying sessions. And I think you've emphasised enough over the weekend so far that if you're not within, let's say, the front 6 rows of the grid there, some of the Strakka support team, I wonder which wheel nuts they'll be changing for the course of this afternoon's 3-hour event.
Well, they rotate the wheel nuts. So here we have it, just waiting for this session to go. The fast lane is open already. It's very, very quick fire in the Blancpain Endurance Series, and the first few cars, yeah, we've got a half a dozen cars already down by pit exit, waiting to go out and play. But let's just, I'm just going to run you down through the championship. For Pro Honours at the moment, Raffaele Marcello leads by 1 point, that's all. His ACA ASP Mercedes ahead of the Black Falcon trio of Jelmer Berman, Maro Engel and Lucas Stoltz, with Tom Blomqvist and Philippe Eng split between different BMWs from Row Racing to double their chances. Cars already out onto the circuit. We started with 15 minutes on the clock. It's already counting down. Sit still, you may miss your opportunity. But as we saw in qualifying session number 1, you have to find the clear space on the track. Sometimes you have to manufacture it, but if you back up too much, you run the risk of other people coming out in front of you. We saw some of the fastest runners coming around to start their first flying lap as other cars are coming out of the pit lane.
Yes.
Could be disastrous.
So it is simply a question of you take your chance. I mean, if you want to go down to the end of the pit lane and wait for the track to go green and be the first combination of cars out, that can give you a benefit. On the other hand, if you see the 76 Aston Martin, it's hanging back. We've just got just over a minute into the session. The 44 Mercedes, the car that set the fastest overall time, still up on its jacks and hasn't even got a set of wheels and tires attached to it. So they feel that they're going to go out and it's going to be a single lap attack to try and use a track. By the time they might not go out until maybe 5 minutes of the session remaining, but most people will have spent the best of the tire performance that they would have had in this particular qualifying session.
Lamborghini hanging back, all 3 of their Grasser Racing cars still sitting in the pit lane. Strakka Racing have kept 2 of theirs back. All 3 of the Black Falcon Mercedes also waiting for their chance later in the session. But Christopher Meese is going to try and build on the great work of Dries Vanthoor. Don't forget, it's about aggregate. You add session 1 time to session 2. He's backing it right off trying to be sure. The team is on the radio saying the problem has got the slide rule, working out is there going to be clear track. Other cars starting to drive down the pit lane, could come out of their way.
What Christopher Mies is about to go on to the start of a flying lap, and this will be a critical lap because he knows that whatever he does will only just flatter what Dries van Thor has done a few minutes ago. Currently got a clear lap. There will be traffic coming from the right, just keep an eye. And it looks so far as one car going through turn 1 through turn 2. It needs to be aware that Christopher Mies is coming through on a flying lap, first flying lap. So that car ahead, if it's going to be helpful, which currently is staying on that racing line in the exit out of turn 4, and Christopher Mies will be fully aware of it. I don't know whether he'll be on the old lamp flasher, headlight flasher. Turns out of the exit turn 4, and now he's going to run into trouble as his sister riding, but he gets up the inside. Oh, and he overruns, and just trying to be a little bit too aggressive on the brakes into turn 5 to make sure he got ahead of that Audi, and consequently overran, and that's going to cost him time. So a little error, and runs wide out of turn 7, over 8 over the curve, then compromises again on the uphill climb into turn 9. Almost needs to just take a deep breath and just be more patient. Pushing so hard that now maybe guilty of overdriving after that in turn 5.
Fourth in the championship reckoning at the moment. That 40.317, you needed to be really under 40 seconds in that middle sector. We saw where the problem was deep into turn 4, too deep, sorry, to turn 5. He dived up the inside. I think it was an Strakka Racing Audi that kept out of the way. It doesn't matter particularly, generally a clear track for the rest of the lap, but right now at the end he doesn't want a car in his way as they go into the chicane. Is that car going to get out of the way on the exit?
Yeah, it's going to start a flying lap, so they've been able to...
Well, it's the 88 Mercedes that's in front of him. That's the one that's leading the championship, and the number 1 Audi is 4th in the championship. How good is this lap? Will it go to the top of the charts? Yes, it does. 1 minute 44.8. Not really fast enough to my reckoning. It's a solid lap, but not a special one.
Stefano Telli back after that nasty accident in the Spa 24. And one of the car, again, is that
that's the Gallardo,
it is. So
the 24 entry from Writer Youngstars.
I'm wondering just what corner that is. That's at the end of the pitch, straight start finish. So it's gone into the gravel at the end. Turn 1, turn 2, and you can see one of the recovery vehicles already by the Lamborghini Gallardo, a yellow sector down at the end of, or sector 1, but it's into turn 1, turn 2. So just back out of it. Just get out of the throttle, because you don't want to put any additional stress into that set of tyres. So there's this lap, no point in pursuing it, because you've got a yellow flag down at turn 1 and 2.
Yellow flag, yellow tractor, that is being removed, but at the moment we've got Christopher Mies top 1 minute 44.827 seconds, almost a half a second clear of Stefano Telli, starting to wind the 114 and with Lexus right up.
With that yellow flag you can see being waved on the entry into turn 1. The Lamborghini is way off track, don't know how it got there, but anyway that's where it has come to a standstill. Clock ticking, 10 minutes to go, just under the 10 minutes now. Could take another 2 or 3 minutes for that car to be cleared before the track can go back green. All the plans that teams had to go out at a later date in this session, panic sets in.
Yeah, well, the Grasser Lamborghini team has brought its cars back in. They were slightly late going out, so I think they effectively got the signal on their out lap and they've come in. But the top times are really spread. The car in 3rd place, Arno Santomato, 1.3 seconds down.
No, I was going to say, but I don't know why the 14 might have wanted to stay out, because it's crawling around. I mean, you can see now, and is it a full course yellow? I think it's going to be a full course yellow.
Yes, full course yellow. Just come up on our timing screen, so they've had to go very slowly on the straight. So the Grasser Lamborghini team was absolutely spot on to bring them in. You can see the tension on the face. Albert Costa there looking very concerned indeed. But Stefano Telli, 2nd fastest at the moment, but nearly half a second down on that great lap from Christopher Mies.
I mean, I can't say it's great television, but it's building so much tension. You can feel that everybody in the pit lane, particularly those that are looking for overall victory, those that are looking for victories in championships. Lenny Marnecki, he's gone down. We didn't see what was the cause, whether that was an incident or it was another car involved. Nevertheless, 8 minutes and 44 seconds, clock continuing to tick, and those that went out early gained some benefit. Christopher Mies, in spite of a lap that would not be one of his laps of a lifetime, gets the provisional quickest time. Stefano Telli 2nd quickest. The 28, that's the Daiko Lazarus Lamborghini, then that is in the Silver Cup, 3rd quickest. Then you get the first of the Pro-Am, the 27, That's the second of the Dario Lario. So both the Lamborghinis from the same team, third and fourth quickest. Dave, that was something they maybe hadn't anticipated in an overall.
No, exactly. We've got two timing screens. One gives us the timings for one session, and one gives the combined. And at the moment, it's the number 1 Audi on top of the number 1 from the 114 Lexus. By dint of the fact they are the two cars that have set flying laps, sensible flying laps in each of the sessions. We've got a lot of the other runners who have suddenly found themselves potentially nearer the front, including the 97 Aston Martin. Ewan Mackay on board in the first session. They're 5th fastest at the moment. So when you have stuff on aggregate, it will sort out. We will go green, and a lot of the cars are now coming back out on the circuit in anticipation of that. While the number 24 Lamborghini has been pulled clear. I think it shouldn't be too long until we go green again. So Lamborghini puts its cars back out onto the circuit. The number 82 going around there, the early stages of the lap, just waiting for the yellow signals to turn to green and be able to put the foot right down and see what they can do. Don't forget the crews, of course, fighting for the bonus point they get if they take pole in their class. So we've got the silver pole, we've got the overall pole, we've got the Pro-Am pole and the AM pole.
Track goes green.
7 minutes and a few seconds of small change left in qualifying session number 2. The number 1 Audi made a mistake in the hands of Christopher Mies, but it has delivered. Trying to go around the outside, the number 43.
I mean, what a nightmare. You're on a flying lap, beginning of a flying lap, and you meet a group of 6 or 7 cars, all of which are on their out lap now, looking to go the long way around. And waiting for Maxi Book, Alvaro Perez, Max Goods. That combination, that is going to be, again, I mean, there's a lot of, let's say, gamesmanship going on. The Aston Martin clearly blocking some of the cars, not wanting to concede track position.
Yeah, the number 17 Audi with Stuart Leonard very, very keen to get past. But this is the best of time to come down the start, finish straight. Nobody ahead of you. One of the Bentleys piling down. Number 8, nice clean run. One of the BMWs need a clean track. And Marco Seafried down the 14 Lexus.
But that car currently combined is third overall. So for Marco Seafried, this is going to be an opportunity to further improve on his 1 minute 45.8 with a quick car ahead of him. So not really having any interference, and there's no indication of slow traffic even at this first sector of the lap. Personal best for Seafried in sector 1, so there's a small improvement on what he previously has achieved. So out of 4 down the hill, let's see if we can get the nose of the Lexus. Well, I don't know where that was. Maybe there was something on the inside of the turn 5 I didn't see. A very wide line there for Seafried in the Lexus, and again, time lost. Again, struggling to get the nose in for turn 7. Turn 8 was just really a quick flick back. Then up to turn 9, let's see if the Lexus can get the nose better in, better apex. Get the nose in, runs the car wide over the curb, keeps going straight when he exits. Now down the hill, onto the brakes, coming up to the conclusion of sector 2. Improvement yet again, 40.5. And this is, remember, this car currently is third overall of the combined, but 7th in this session.
Yeah, we see a real flurry as a lot of the drivers hadn't put a flying lap in before we had the yellow flag. It was the incident down at turn 1 with the 24 Lamborghini off at the side of the circuit. Lenny Marinette, the driver with a red face at the moment, but the track back green. Arno Santomoto, who's running 3rd in session, is improving. Well, he was. In fact, he's had a terrible, not such a brilliant middle section. Now the Bentley, Andy Soucek, we saw him coming down with clear track. It's paid off. He goes 3rd fastest, which becomes 4th fastest, because suddenly
Nicky Katzberg's popped up into the 2nd quickest combined.
Yeah, Jens Klingman on board at the moment, sharing with Katzberg that number 98 BMW. That is important. They've been nowhere all weekend.
So it's all changed in the space, and again, there's a yellow flag in sector 2. So again, we don't know yet what that was for, but again, a frustration, 4 minutes plus remaining, and everybody has to now back off going through sector 2.
Absolutely so. Stephen Kane, we just looked at the number 7 Bentley, moved up into 16th place, but next time round he's got the yellow flag to contend with. Christopher Mies still pressing on. Very good middle sector for him there, 44.918. Not as good as his best, but still in the ballpark. Dries Van Tor looking, I think, with every minute that passes, might be feeling slightly more relieved, because getting a good time in is very, very difficult. The 88
Jesse Krohn, quickest now in the BMW, also 58. The McLaren, and that is Ben Barnacle to set 4th quickest time in this 2nd session, and looking to see that puts that 3rd overall. The McLaren all of a sudden popping up. We never saw it anywhere. It's what we saw on Friday or Saturday and Sunday, or 2 sessions. on Saturday. Currently third overall combined.
And what's going on? The Lamborghini suddenly finding fantastic pace. One of the Silver Cup cars up into the yellow flags out again. The number 12 entry with Roman Monsi's just moved up into 4th in this session. So it's the 76 Aston Martin now on the top of the pile, puts it into 2nd overall on combined times, just 0.117 of a second down. Oh, it's changing so fast. And now we've got the number 44 Mercedes top of the pile. Christian Vittorius, 2nd fastest in this session. Combined with session 1, that moves them up into overall lead. It's changing fast, John.
It's changing quicker than we can actually bring it to you. Simply as the cars come across start-finish line, just under 3 minutes of the session remaining. Track now back to green in sector 2. We don't know quite what the cause of that was. We never saw it. There's the number 4 it is.
Number 4 Mercedes, not in the top 20 in this session, not in the top 20 overall at the moment, needs a good flying lap. What he's got is clear, it's not clear track. He's got the Bentley from Team Parker Racing weaving this way and that on and out. That keeps out of his way. Well done to the Team Parker Racing crew. Hasn't interrupted the Black Falcon. Mercedes number 4, Mauro Engel, pressing very hard.
Personal best in 1st and 2nd sector. But again, it's the traffic that's going to come into play as he comes into through turn 12, then into the tight right at 13, then the left at 14, then the right again at 15. That gets the Mercedes, slips it down the inside, so there was good cooperation there. 88, Mercedes just ahead now, the number 4, it's looking for a position. Mauro Engel needs to maintain and keep that momentum up. Comes across the exit of turn 16, drops the wheel off the curb, but where will he end up? Quickest overall, 144.3 in the session. That puts him 2nd combined. Well, how quick can things change? Not even on the top 20 timing and scoring, and all of a sudden you're 2nd quickest overall.
So suddenly Christian Mies's time is good only for 5th place in this session. Let's call it 6th because we've just had the number 43 Lamborghini moving his way up the chart. Where is the 88 Mercedes? Looking at it on the screen, not in the top 20. It's not in this session overall at the top end. It's 16th overall, but not in the top 20 in time. Just a second. Red flag, and red flag has come out. 1 minute 22 remaining.
It's in the gravel. That's turn 5. So that has blown any opportunity for the 88. It was on an improving lap, but it will now end up combined.
Red flag. Session will not be resumed.
Correct.
Session will not be resumed.
So that is a disaster. I hate to use those extreme views, but it is a disaster for the 88. That car was combined 16th on a lap where it was clearly looking to make a significant improvement. Not only 88 has been affected, everybody's been affected by this red flag at turn 5, and that means the session there's no time to restart the session because you wouldn't have time to get across the line before the flag came out. So quite rightly, it's been red flagged and it will not continue. So everybody will go back into the pits. The big winner has been the 44 Mercedes and the 4, we're just saying the 4 Black Falcon Mercedes up into 2nd place. And the number 1 Audi is combined 3rd quickest overall.
So it stayed in the hunt, number 1 Audi there. But yes, how fast things can change. If that flag hadn't come out, the 88 Mercedes has just started to work its way through traffic to get a clear run. This is the car that's leading overall, but it's 16th on aggregate. It's 0.9 of a second. So heroics from Raffaele Marciello will be required to bring the car up the order. So the cars it's fighting against, most notably the number 4 crew, which is 2nd overall in aggregate. Suddenly the metronome has swung their way. They're only 1 point down. If they can get overall pole, they'll take the extra point. They'll be level on points, but Marcello's car, which is yet to go out, obviously in Q3, for him to do what he's going to do, it's not likely to get into any higher than 10th place.
I mean, you couldn't predict what's happened. I mean, it is a disrupted qualifying session, sector 1, or qualifying 1 and qualifying 2. And that's at the exit of turn 12. We thought it was at 5, was initially indicated it was on turn 5. It may be another car, we don't know. They're certainly up at turn 12, the exit, there is a car that is being recovered. And that again is a part of the racetrack on the outside where it is only prudent just to red flag it because it's at a difficult part to get the recovery vehicle, and it's bedded into the gravel, so we have to wait until that's been cleared. There it is.
Okay, we could have a little shuffle of the timing screens, or anybody who improved in Sector 2, their times will be cancelled. What we can tell you at the moment, his fastest time in the session was Mauro Engel, 1 minute 44.359 seconds. Jake Dennis, 2nd fastest. His time was set a little earlier in the 76 Aston Martin, so we're not going to second guess who may or may not have times deleted. But for the drivers right now, let's go down the number 4 crew, Jelmer Berman, equal on points, potentially, with Dakota.
Jelmer, now Mara had a very good time, but we've just been reported that in Sector 2, the yellow flag and the lap times will be cancelled. So do you know if that will affect you or not?
Well, it was yellow before, and when Maro passed Sector 2, it was green. So unless you know something, I don't. But according to the screens, it was all fine. He did a really good lap. We were lucky to just cross the line before the red flag came out. But now you make me very doubtful.
Yeah, but on the positive side, you're still in the contention for the championship. So, you know, there's still some points we have. It's a 3-hour race, so come on.
Yeah, but let's see what happens now, because, you know, it's very difficult for us to overtake here. And it will be, for sure, it will be a long race, but for sure qualifying is key as well. So we have to see. I mean, I don't know what's going on, but let's wait and see.
Let's see what happens. Good luck.
What I can tell you, as we were listening to Jelmer Berman down there, the times were changing on the screen, and various times have been taken away. The 88 car was 16th at the start of the interview. It's now moved itself up to 12th fastest, so 4 cars ahead of it have had their better laps removed, and every bit it can gain is vital for the 88 crew.
In the interview with Jelmer Berman, he was asked the question, do they think they'll keep that lap or not? I think that the number 4 was well clear of Sector 2, was in the heart of Sector 3 before, in fact, crossed the line before the red flag was thrown. But again, that's something the race director will look at, and he will have all the information available.
Well, their times haven't moved at all, as other times are changing literally with every second. Times being removed from the screen. The number 4 Mercedes, still fastest in Q2, still with the best overall time on aggregate by 6 1/1000ths of a second over the number 1 Audi. 43 Strakka Racing Mercedes is in 3rd place overall. Maxi Buch, Alvaro Parent and Maxi Goetz, they still have a hope of the championship, but they are 24 points down with 26
so where
to play.
did 44's time go? Was that been deleted?
Yes.
It was quickest. That was the quickest car, because Engel was 2nd quickest. Now Engel, the 4 Mercedes is quickest overall. The 44's car that time must have been one of those times that's been deleted, because it was the
absolutely so.
So we had a readjustment on timing and scoring here.
It was happening so fast it's very hard to keep up with, but clearly its time in the 2nd sector was removed, because after qualifying, it's not 2nd sector, 2nd session, qualifying 1, they were sitting very pretty indeed. Felipe Fraga having done a great
back
job
as well, so the 14
114.
And what has been the cause of that? We didn't see that car stopped. It's been
Stefano Ortelli listed still as 7th fastest in session. Oh yes, listed as not having completed the lap, so that's being pulled in through the final few corners of the circuit. Now it's just entering the pit lane or the pit approach road, but a glitch. But their time, that won't really affect it, as long as it's something that doesn't hamper the car for Q3, they'll be able to go out. No more Q2, we had 1 minute and 20 seconds or so when the red flag was thrown, but we won't be needing that. We're ready for Q3.
Still no answer. Where is Mercedes Strakka Racing number 44? Not on our timing and scoring.
Not in the top
combined top 20.
It might have only done 1 flying lap, and if that was taken away from it in the session, you know, clearly your outlap's not going to be good enough to make you competitive to get into the top 20 on aggregate.
Bruce, just looking at timing and scoring, so far combining Q1 Q2, the gap between fastest and 2nd quickest, 6/1000ths of a second. That's between the 4 Mercedes and the 1 Audi, with the 43 Mercedes Alvaro Parent behind the wheel, just 52 hundredths of a second behind the 2nd place. I mean, how close can you get?
No,
it's ridiculous. The top 3 covered by 52 hundredths of a second.
Extraordinarily close. Already cars starting to go down toward the fast lane is open. They can go down towards pit exit, waiting for the session to start at under 30 seconds. 10:09 is the time on our screens in which the session will restart.
Here is
recalibrate, John.
Here is the question. I don't know. I haven't got the answer. You might have. I doubt you do. Can we have a 15-minute session without any interruption? It's going to be, in fact, not 15. It's going to be just over 10 minutes. Can we have a session without any interruptions, without any yellow flag sectors or any red flags? I mean, is it too much on a Sunday morning, a beautiful Sunday morning, to ask for that?
Let us see, John. The session has started. But one of the hardest things is just trying to work out, as the times are changing thick and fast, John, maybe we have to do it on the outlap, is work which of our championship challengers are in the top 10. We can tell you the 88 car has risen with all that sorting out. It was 16th when they started docking laps, moved up to 8th place overall. That's important. The car number 4 crew, their fastest overall after the 2 sessions combined. This is the car that's second on the championship, could take the point for pole position. That will move it equal to the 88, but they're fastest at the moment. The number 1 crew, which is 4th in the championship, is second fastest.
And Bruce, that 4 didn't look like it was getting a new set of ready tyres. Looked like set of tyres that had previously had a run. I didn't see any stickers on any of those 4 tyres.
Track space. 2 words, very important. Pace is almost a given for the top runners. It's whether they've got an arena in which to display it. And again, we have the Strakka Racing Lamborghinis being held back. It seems to be a tactic. One of them is now starting to go out on the circuit. The 82 car, that was the car Frank Pereira was such a star in. But the 88 Mercedes with the yellow flashes on its nose, middle of our shot, holding station at the moment, waiting to go out. Our top 6 runners all on aggregate in the top 10. That wasn't something we expected. Plenty of drama down at Black Falcon, and tension. You can see Hubert Hout and Jelmer Berman, their faces drawn. These cars, to my eye, are all too close to each other. Is there outlap? Why are they doing it?
Well, I mean, the option is to wait, hold back, because in effect what you're going to be looking for is a single qualifying lap on your set of tyres, be them a fresh set of tyres or a brand new set of tyres. Tyre will be at its best on its first flying lap. Track conditions are warming up. It's slightly warmer than it was earlier this morning. Track was only 17 Celsius. Ambient was actually slightly warmer at 18. Albert Costa in the Lexus, he's got a load of work to do. That car currently just outside top 10 in 11th place. So Albert Costa got a pretty good clear track, but we don't know what it will be like when he gets further around, whether he'll catch up to the tail of this train of traffic. You can see him already flashing lights, moving around, coming down into turn 1.
Flashing lights because other cars leaving the pit lane. Strakka Racing has got all 3 of its Mercedes still at a standstill in the pits. They've made their tactic very clear indeed. Riding on board the Lexus though, little bit of traffic up ahead. It's one of the
McLaren, yes, so I think he was using that opportunity to just make the McLaren aware. You can't tell whether that's the Pro or the Am car. I think it's the Pro. So Albert Costa, personal best, fastest overall. So can he slip up the side? Yes, he's done so. The McLaren has backed out, given Costa the opportunity, and that's what he would have liked. That kind of cooperation. It's a bit of give and take. If you constantly take but don't give, it'll come back one day and you'll be the victim of it.
Exactly. So the McLaren was on an outlap. You can see it warming its tyres, but right now traffic up ahead. But Robin Freed's also making a bit of a move in the number 17 Audi. He's just set the fastest first sector. Robin a fraction quicker than Costa. Costa's got traffic. He needs that Barwell Lamborghini to stay out of the way. It does. There he goes, flashing past it. Not too much of a compromise line down into turn 10.
Bit deep into turn 10, not ideal. And then cuts back through 11, then immediately straight into this long and a real tire torturer of a turn 12. Then run the curve, then again, the same issue, backing into traffic, but manages, just carrying so much speed. He just slots past 3 cars as if they're not there. But can he get through his 5 cars to try and get through in the space of 3 corners? Somebody's kicked up the dust on the entry into turn, and somebody's kicked up further dust on the exit of turn 16. We don't know who it is, but the 14 comes across the line. Record at 1:45.068.
Needed to be in the 44s, but I mean, he had to thread the eye of the needle about 5 times in the space of 3 corners, so it was a bit of a disaster for Albert Costa there. Wanted to do well on home ground. Toby Sowry suddenly puts his number 28 Lamborghini second fastest, but of course the times are changing, because Alex Riberas, 1:44.5 goes top.
Watch car 11, Alessandro Pierguidi and the 2-driver Michael Bonasevsky, that Ferrari, fastest overall sector 1, fastest overall sector 2, Alessandro Pierguidi nailing that Ferrari.
Absolutely so the target time 1:44.558. The Ferrari not at the very front end at the moment. It's the number, oh dear, look, traffic everywhere for number 4 Lucas Stoltz. Mercedes, Mercedes gets out of the way. That's the championship leading Mercedes. That's the rival car to this one. That was very gentlemanly for them to be allowed.
Absolutely. I mean, that is totally correct, racetrack manners. So the 4 comes across the line, goes 5th. Lucas Stoltz, he knows he's got a lot more in the tank than that, but still, where is that to get him into the top? Well, the car, of course, currently is second remains second.
Yes, but with Alex Riberas setting the pace in the session, that means the aggregate advantage for the number 1 Audi just creeps out its point, just under 0.2 of a second. Now, what can the man do? Can Raffaele Marciello? You can see he's wringing the neck of the 88 Mercedes. No time on the board yet in this session. He's got to work the space in the traffic. He's coming up behind the number 4 Mercedes. He let that pass though. He should expect the same favour coming back the other way. But at the moment, the 88 crew waiting for that. Well, he's dropped off the charts in the combined classification because he hasn't put a flying lap in Q3. Once he's done so, he was about 8th. He was 8th at the start of this session on aggregate.
Yeah, personal
going to be
best,
going up.
Personal best, not purple, personal best for Raffaele Marciello in Sector 1. So that car is...
Aston Martin's first and second in session, moved ahead of the number 1 Audi. Target keeps moving for the 88 Mercedes, but I'd say that opening sector is fine. Anything under 30 seconds, you're in the ballpark.
But currently outside the top 20 in the combined time.
Needs that
as you
flying lap.
pointed out, Bruce, so down into turn 10.
And Lucas
personal
Stoltz.
best, but fastest overall in Sector 2. Now that's going to give a little bit of comfort to Raffaele Marciello. He's got pretty much uninterrupted track ahead of him. The car ahead of him should not come into play. It's going into turn 13 as now Raffaele. So yeah, it's going to be a clear run for the Italian and the 88 Mercedes, and he's got an opportunity to put this 88 car and top of the timing and scoring in Q3 with what, some 10 minutes to go.
Yeah, well, at the moment, suddenly the number 4 Mercedes went to the top ahead of the 90 Mercedes, and now 88, Raffaele Marciello, top of the charts, and that puts the car third, potentially, on the grid, John.
And overall fastest single lap of the weekend, 1:43.6. That was a stellar lap from Raffaele Marciello.
So, no red meat for lunch today for Raffaele. Keep him keen for the race, but that was astonishing. He had to work, and you'd have to say, Lucas Stoltz, very gentlemanly, and his next best lap has moved him to second overall. 3 Mercedes at the top of the charts in qualifying number 3. Overall, it's that number 4 Mercedes at the top of the charts. They will take the point. They will move equal with Raffaele Marciello at the top of the championship.
And he's got a quick look at the Audi. This is the 25 Audi. Simon Gachet. That car is currently on the second row alongside the 88 Mercedes. It has to complete this lap, runs way wide coming out of turn 15. Now exit 16 runs wide, but not a problem, comes across the start finish line. And will that see any improvement in overall position?
No, stays 14th in session.
That's 4th overall as well.
4th overall. It's good, it's solid. And John, we're halfway towards getting through the session without interruption. And good to see the number 23 Nissan, Alex Buncombe. Good, solid session for him, and that's moved it to 7th place overall. In anything in the top 10, it's good. Importantly for BMW, Tom Blomqvist's car, the 98 car, is 6th overall. That wasn't anywhere yesterday, and he's a championship challenger. Starts today 3rd in the championship, equal with Philippe Eng, his teammate, but driving the sister car this weekend. But that lap from Raffaele Marciello was very special indeed.
This lap we're on board with Marciello, and he's making his way up, completing the lap, slowing down. Again, letting traffic go through. He needs to look for the clear. I thought he might have decided to come in. He's going to have another go. So this will be the start of the third lap on the same set of tyres. A load of dust gets kicked up again in the exit off that turn 16. Nobody in any form of difficulty whatsoever, but it is still that number 4 Black Volker Mercedes. Lucas Stoltz behind the wheel, that is currently provisionally a pole with the number 1 Audi alongside.
And what it goes to show, in this session, Alex Buncombe is only 19th quickest, but the 3 aggregates across the 23 drivers of the 23 Nissan, at the moment, good for 7th overall. So, again, it's not just each of the sessions, it's about combining your 3 laps, your best laps from each of the sessions, and if you've got a good balanced driver lineup, you reap the dividends. And that's why the 25 Audi, nowhere particularly in this session, is ranked 2 places higher on the grid. Sorry, it's 5th place overall. So good, solid stuff, but the time's not being delivered in Q3 for them.
I mean, there are literally as cars coming across start finish line, the combined of 3 sessions are continually changing. Alex Buncombe was now being elevated, or demoted, I should say, down to 8th. The 98 BMW of Thomas Blomqvist is up into 7th place. As we look at the 25 again, coming into, is he going to clip the curb? Well, as the exit, maybe there's going to be more in. There it is, the hop, skip and a jump over the exit of turn 15. Not particularly comfortable to watch, a lot less comfortable. Look at that, the car almost floats across that. Now, whether that will be considered to be abuse of track limits this lap, whether that will be permitted or whether it will be deleted.
It didn't matter, it wasn't an improvement. No, actually, it was last time, sorry, that was an improvement, it was a late. Now, one car I was about to mention, the 43 Mercedes, yet to really deliver in session. But Maxi Götz, 14th, but the car is third on aggregate. If he can find any improvement, if he can find a couple of tenths of a second, he could get up onto the front row. That would be a good validation for Strakka Racing, holding his Mercedes trio back until the session had calmed down a little bit and then sending them out. But that middle sector time is no good at all.
Alvaro Prince has not been able to do anything better. He needed to get at least a green, a personal best, ideally get a purple. So that particular Mercedes 43 currently third behind, but all the way up, Max Götz, all the way down in 14th in this session. Again, that's what makes this combined qualifying format such an exciting one, because what you get in an individual session isn't always a reflection of what you'll end up at the end of 3 qualifying sessions. Nothing from start-finish line and no further improvement.
John, with 53 cars out on the track as tight as this, just watching one timing screen would be exciting. We have to watch 2 and the moving images to pick up what is happening. But it's the aggregation of 3. We've got a couple of cars, an incident between them under investigation, 44 and 51. That's one of the Strakka Racing. That's the Felipe Fraga, Christian Vittorius, Oliver Rowland car. Don't forget their time was at the top of the charts. That went tumbling. Maybe their first session time has been taken away. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But incidentally, car number 51, AF Corsa Ferrari.
72 Ferrari making its way again. It's not combined into the top 20. Well, this is a car we always know is, and generally is the quickest of all the Ferraris that would be at any of the endurance rounds. As Raffaele Marciello, his job is done, and that car will start currently, unless there's a change, we've got just 3 minutes remaining, start on the second row of the grid. He will be, and the team will be, I think, not delighted, but will be happy with it. The Ferrari comes into the pit lane. Its session is over.
So it looks like the session is winding down, and you can almost see the sigh of relief there from Raffaele Marciello. For Jelmer Berman, his car potentially takes the point for pole position, still at the top of the charts with the vast majority of the cars in the pit lane. They'll get the point. So when they go into this afternoon's race, 3 hours of absolutely massive fun, Marciello will have 48 points, and so will Berman, Engel and Stoltz in that number 4 Black Falcon Mercedes.
Love to have a quick word with Raffaele Marciello, because that lap time is just under 4 tenths of a second quicker than the second place in this session, Lukas Stoltz. Nobody has really broken into the 43, 1 minute 43s as deeply as Marciello has done. And in that lap, it didn't look as good as it looked at the end of the lap and overall time. So how did he get it? How did he drag that extra time out of the 88 Mercedes in that last sector?
How did he find the space? How did he make the space? But as you said, it was a phenomenal end to the lap. The 98 BMW coming into the pit lane, that looks like it's going to be starting 7th overall. That's very much still in the championship hunt. 333 Ferrari. It's gone well in this session, but that's not in the overall hunt. That's down in the Pro-Am. Streaking around the circuit, 2 minutes remaining on the clock, almost no faster times coming in. So had somebody hung back, they could have had the track almost to themselves for the end of this session. That could have made a big difference for a lot of the drivers who, as we saw, were running so close to each other, tripping each other up. Actually, it's a better lap for the 333 Ferrari. That should move it up not only 40th on overall aggregate time, just outside the top 20 in this session. But the drivers would have given their back teeth to have clear circuit. And right now, the 42 Strakka Racing Mercedes does have clear circuit, and that needs to move its way up the chart. That's front runner in, of course, in the Pro-Am class.
Yes,
and
leading the Pro-Am class, currently 13th combined. Lewis Williamson behind the wheel. That's a good effort indeed by Strakka Racing to get that car part of the Strakka lineup. I mean, how many cars Strakka have got here this weekend? 3 cars. Well, they seem to be everywhere on camera all around the lap, but that car leading its category from the 27. Again, the Daiko Lazarus Lamborghini, and those cars of the 27, 28 Daiko Lazarus Racing Lamborghinis have been very much more to the fore here in Barcelona than other occasions throughout the season.
Yeah, and I think they worked their tactics very well. As I said, all the others have gone out on the track. They held all 3 back, and as you can see, Oliver Rowland's still going around the 44 entry, but they decided they were going to risk the session running right to the end, no interruptions, and this one will, but this is not a fast lap. But if he wants to do one now, the track is pretty much all his own.
Yes, they came across the line with just over 30 seconds of the session remaining, and if they have timed this correctly, gets a clear lap, and there's still life grip remaining in his Pirelli tyres, then this could change considerably the fortunes for the 44. Makes its way up the hill
and out beyond,
very wide on the exit of turn 3, and gets it into turn 4, so pushing hard. And indicates to me that the 44 has probably seen the best of its tyres. That's the reason why he ran that bit wide on the exit of turn 3.
Well, the checkered flag has been waved, not yet for Oliver Rowland. He's got the track to himself, but as John pointed out, perhaps those tyres have had a big shot earlier, and the grip not there for him at the moment. But car under investigation for speeding in the pit lane, which we mentioned is one of the big no-nos. That's the Fabien Barthez Eric Debard. That's the AM Cup Mercedes from ACA ASP. But in the background, behind the checkered flag, you can see the number 4 Black Falcon Mercedes, and that is the provisional pole taker. I can't see anything changing with the 44 car. The Mercedes, Oliver Rowland, coming round to complete its final flying lap. So it looks as though Lucas Stoltz, Mauro Engel will take the extra point along with, Jelmer Berman, who we've heard from earlier, for pole position, and that will move them equal on points with the championship leader, Raffaele Marciello. It's getting tighter and tighter at the top.
Yeah, Oliver Rowland really struggling, I think, with grip on this last lap. Checkered flag has been out, is more or less, I think, the penultimate car to take the line, comes across 145.3. So, doesn't see any change for the 44.
Well, the man normally wouldn't be happy with qualifying 4th, but 4th is great today. Let's hear from Raffaele Marciello.
Raffaele, that was absolutely mega lap there. Now we have 8 of the championship contenders in the top 10, so they're going to be all around you this afternoon. Happy with your time?
Yeah, I mean, we've been quite unlucky in Q2, and I think we lost a chance to fight for the pole position there. But yeah, it was important to stay in top 5 for the fight, and yeah, it will be a tough race. It's not so easy to overtake here, but we will see today. Our car, it's quite good on the race, so it should be a good race for us.
So you've got 3 people to overtake, so where do you think the best place to overtake is on this circuit?
I think we have to play smart at the start, we have to play smart after at the pit stop, because on track it's not so easy to overtake.
So really just playing smart everywhere. Good luck.
Yeah, I think Raffaele summed it up. You've got to play smart. You know, this race is not necessarily going to be a race that's won simply on the racetrack. It'll be about strategy, it'll be about how you make your pit stops, making clean pit stops, clean driver changes, ensuring, for example, as Bruce there, you can see the overall grid positions.
That was it. We had to have eyes on 2 screens, but on top by 0.17 of a second after 3 scintillating qualifying sessions. It's the number 4 Black Falcon Mercedes ahead of the number 1 Audi. That's 4th in the championship, but that number 4 Mercedes now equal top. But the car that leads on points is the 88 Mercedes. They recovered from a poor second session to start from the outside of the second row of the grid. Almost all of the championship challengers showed why they're championship challengers, and 8 of the top 10 positions on the grid for this afternoon's race are filled by cars that could still take the overall driver's title this weekend. Of course, we have the Silver Cup rankings as well to consider, the Pro-Am rankings and the AM as well. And there's been a real mix-up up and down the grid. It was about keeping your calm in the heat of the battle out there, not exceeding your best time under yellow flags. There were yellow flags, there was a red flag as well. And so the teams really had to be on their toes, and everyone will have a story to tell, but certainly some of the cars right at the back of the grid got it wrong, including the 63 Lamborghini right down at the tail of the field. They must have had one of their better laps removed, leaving them with one session without a flying lap, because they're right down in 47th position. I mean, Mirko Bortolotti likes a bit of a charge. And likewise, Felipe Fraga in the 44 Mercedes. That started, John, after the first session, it was the top of the charts, but with the time being taken away, all the cars at the bottom have had one of their session times removed, and they have got, well, it's not a mountain to climb, it's a vertical cliff face.
I mean starting in that position 44, it's just a complete utter nightmare. Well, how are you going to make your way? It's going to take you at least that first 1 hour to get anywhere near being to the top 20 or even the top 15.
Well, from the outset of the session, that was riding on board with Dries van Tor. He found a car in his way on its outlap. He was on his first flight. Big recovery. That is where the 49 Mercedes presumably picked up a little bit of bodywork damage. And then this big moment for the Schotthorst attempt to racing Audi. Went wide out of turn number 9, bit into the gravel, and then was spat across the circuit. Then red flag. Chance for teams to regroup. And the number 4 Mercedes started to press on, which left Dries van Tor feeling a little bit concerned. He was desperate for his championship options to be at the front of the grid. The 43 Mercedes pushing on very hard indeed. And then, having set a time, the 114 Lexus pulled some more, didn't matter, that was fine. They got their time in qualifying session number 2, but as you can see, making a space in traffic was the hardest thing of all, and somehow the master magician was Raffaele Marciello, who took the fastest time of the meeting so far, and that moved his car up the order, and they will start this afternoon's race from 4th position overall. Right to the very end, the drivers were pushing, making their space, making their tyres work, making sure there wasn't a slip up. The stage is set for the final race of the 2018 Blancpain Cup.